2NURFM.com, a broadcast service of the University of Newcastle.
So good morning to you, Liz. Now, technology in education, there's more and more of it being used, isn't there?
Absolutely. And sometimes I don't think it necessarily benefits education. Technology in itself doesn't deliver a good quality education. It's about a partnership between teachers, the students, and that technology. And that's what my talk is about. It's about exploring the links of technology, the new opportunities it provides, but in a safe environment where both teachers and the kids can start to explore and to really develop educationally from it.
That sounds as though it's a huge topic with a lot of different parts to it. So one of the questions you'll be asking is about boys and girls and what happens when both of them use technology in education.
Yeah, it's really interesting. If you look on the web, for instance, at pictures of kids and even adults using technology, and there's a mixed gender there, typically the men have the keyboard. So what we're looking at is, okay, how can we reverse that? And essentially, if you use a computer technology that only has a single way of entering data, such as a keyboard or a mouse, it does lead essentially to one individual controlling that device. So we said, okay, what opportunities are there? And so about 7 years ago, we started looking at interactive technologies and particularly multi-touch. Now, your readers, your listeners, rather, will know about that technology. For instance, now, several years after our research, the iPhone was invented. And therefore, what we're looking at is taking that technology and we're actually placing it inside desks, so that interactive surface becomes the surface of the desk. People often refer to it as the giantest iPad they've ever had.
And there's a wonderful photo in today's Newcastle Herald of just such a desk, is that not?
Yes, it's a fabulous picture that really starts to see, you can see the size of it and really the way of which kids and the teachers can start to interact. Now, we have a number of different services, teacher boards, and also the kids services. And what's really interesting about our work is that it networks them together. So the information that the kids have access to, so does the teacher. So a teacher, for instance, can observe what the kids are doing on their tables and therefore doesn't need to intervene with their group work activities until it's necessary to do it. Now, that's quite important in terms of changing the nature of education. Very often when a teacher wanders around the classroom, the kids bring you into that conversation. And sometimes, well, very often, they want the answer at that point. And it's quite hard for a teacher to bring themselves out and to encourage the kids to explore that. So what this technology, therefore, does is facilitate teachers to know when to intervene and when to just stand back and let that group make the decisions themselves.
There must be quite an adjustment required for teachers to work with this kind of technology.
That's where the computer science comes in. So our work has been to make those user interfaces very natural. Our job is to make sure that if somebody needs a user manual, we've failed. So what we're looking at is you look at it, you know how to use it. And we'll actually bring two devices with us to the talk, so you'll be able to evaluate as to whether we've attained that goal.
Fair enough. So sometimes, of course, the thrill of playing on a computer might take over from the actual learning process?
That can happen. And certainly some of the work that we've been trying to do is keep kids coming back and back and back to try to negate against that fact. First of all, of coming to a university is quite an exciting thing to do, and secondly, coming to play with new technology is even more exciting. So we need to wipe out that issue when we take into our research into account. So what we do is we ask them to come over multiple visits and to make sure that the educational gains remain over time, not just at that short period.
Will the kids be able to link their iPhones in with something like this, do you think?
Yes, so that's the intention, because one of the things I think is important is that kids can take their work and their achievements home with them. And so that we've used all sorts of devices where we can connect to iPhones or laptops, for instance. So that means that then whatever they do in the class, they can take home and they can show their parents, for instance.
And the really important thing is to make sure the focus is on what they're learning or not.
Absolutely. It's about two things. One is learning content, and the other one, I think, is learning to work as a group. much of our work is about collaboration, and that's the whole point of having these large tables. It's not about working individually, it's about working collaboratively. When kids and adults work collaboratively, it forces them to really explain what they're doing. And that process of explaining what they're doing and arguing why their viewpoint may be right opposed to others is a really good way of consolidating that process of learning and really demonstrating to you whether you understand it or not. Any teacher will know when you have to explain something, that's when you know when you understand it. And therefore, we're just applying those same skills to a classroom educational system.